Okay, go.
Greg the bed bug. Vince, the neighbor, better known as Vincent. Bill the grandma. Jennifer the mom. Lexi and Sarah the grandkids. Kelly, the regional manager. Charlene the site manager. And the role of Vanna played by Jen.
Vanna?
You guys all have to stand kind of over that way until you're like called in to the scene. This is the unit over here. So Vincent is going through her regular morning routine while she realizes she has been itching for days. She seems unconcerned with the bites on her skin and decides to go next door to visit with her neighbor, taking her bed bug with her for the trip. Vincent takes a stroll next door to visit her neighbor. When she arrives, the bed bug crawls onto the neighbor, who is also a loving grandmother with family who visits regularly. Then, Grandma has grandkids come visit. When Mom comes to pick up the grandkids, the bed bug tags along. The following day, the mother calls Grandma and says her children are no longer able to visit due to the bed bug bites found on her children that morning. Grandma reports the bugs to the site manager, and she is so upset. The site manager calls Intertec and they agree to come out the following day. Intertec to the rescue! Intertec searches the neighboring apartments and finds that the problem is actually coming from the neighboring apartment. Vincent was so ashamed. A few days later, the regional manager calls the site manager and asks her to send over copies of her spring inspections. The site manager claims she was simply too busy to schedule unit inspections. It's a long conversation. A few weeks later, Grandma decides to sue Vincent due to lack of socialization with her family caused by Vincent's not reporting her bedbug infestation to the manager and spreading them throughout her family. Ultimately, due to procedures not being followed, this incident becomes a hardship to the property. Grandma is so overcome by stress, she is moved to a nursing home and dies of a broken heart 3 months later. Reporting problems. Unable to treat due to so much stuff in the unit, the site manager decides to take matters into her own hands.
Where's the bed bug? You do need the bed bug?
Greg?
Oh, no.
You just can't get good bugs these days.
Can't get good bed bugs?
Not for real, but we're glad the bed bug is back, although we'd rather the bed bugs just go away. The site manager and maintenance, feeling sorry for the resident, head into the unit to help clean up all the stuff. Lots of manpower and hours are invested to clean up the unit, costing property over $1,500. Cleanup, which should have been done by family members and or caseworker, has caused undue financial stress and financial burden on the property and staff. The bugs then spread to the neighboring unit. The neighbor is unpleasant on a good day and is irate, to say the least. 3 long-term residents decide they can no longer afford to live at the property due to increased rents to cover expenses. You tell Charlene, the site manager. Adding to additional expense, which we just talked about, trying to turn over the unit and move in someone new. A resident known as Vincent is a known hoarder of apartment and clean it for the exterminators. He calls the local exterminator, who agrees to come out the following day. The next day, the exterminator enters the unit. He is shocked when he finds the unit packed full of stuff. He tells the resident that her apartment is a mess and she needs to get it cleaned up before he will be able to treat the unit. You have to leave. The following day, the exterminator returns to visit the site manager. He hands her an invoice for his trip charge. The site manager I think he was supposed to put on his shady businessman jacket. The site manager hands the exterminator a stack of money to pay the bills. The exterminator smiles and dashes out of the office. Final skit. Take 1. Applicant comes in to apply for an apartment. Lexi is the site manager. She's on it. She's coming. I'm not sure what's going on with the screen.
Need to move the mouse. Move the mouse.
Applicant comes in to apply for an apartment. He is complaining about bed bugs where he lives. The site manager realizes that the applicant has visible bites all over. The applicant removes his coat, or her coat. And the site manager immediately sees bed bugs crawling all over the applicant's shoulders and back. The site manager grabs her phone and sneaks away. Completely freaked out, she calls Vince in hysterics. Vince tries to calm her down, The site manager, unable to contain her emotions, grabs the bug spray and sprays it toward the applicant while screaming at him to get out of her office. For her to get out of her office. Apartment. He is complaining about bed bugs where he lives. She. The site manager realizes that the applicant has visible bites all over. The applicant removes his coat, and the site manager immediately sees bed bugs crawling all over the applicant's shoulders and back. The site manager politely asks him to grab his coat and follow her outside. She explains the procedures required for applying for an apartment when currently living in a bedbug infestation. She sends him off with the appropriate documentation for applying for a unit in his unfortunate circumstances.